Hello everyone, I've decided to start this vlog kind of thing as kind of a way to cope with some struggles I've been having for a while now. It's very much an experiment in a way. I'm not in any way used to being on camera or being in front of crowds or anything like that. I don't know. It just seems like it could be a good way for me to get some stuff off my chest that I usually wouldn't be able to, or not easily anyway. If anyone I know stumbles across this, then hi, and I'm sorry that I didn't tell any of you about this. For the moment I want to keep this kind of a secret. I might be talking about things that are maybe a little more personal than I feel comfortable talking to people I actually know about. Something along those lines. Eventually, I imagine people will stumble across this somehow, but for now I'm keeping it to myself. Anyway, so I want to start this first video off by kind of introducing myself to whoever will actually be watching this. I'm a 34-year-old man from Norway. I'm unemployed, and I have been for all of my life, mostly because I have a sleeping disorder called delayed sleep phase syndrome. Most people probably don't know what that means, and I imagine I'll make a more in-depth video about it some other time, but essentially what that means is that the time of day that I am able to go to sleep unassisted without medication is skewed. That has, as you can imagine, led to quite a lot of problems over the years, and has led to quite a few other health issues. Like, I didn't get a diagnosis for my sleep disorder until I was 26, and up until I did, I lived my life quite I wanted to say recklessly, but that's not quite right. I took quite a lot of shortcuts in my life because I mostly got like 2 to 4 hours of sleep a night, or technically a day because I slept during the day, but whatever. And that led to a lot of issues with my ability to do stuff, and I didn't have the energy to actually go out and do things. I didn't have the energy to make proper food, so a lot of, not fast food, but frozen foods and unhealthy foods, and way too much snacks and sodas. I still drink sodas, but you know, back then I didn't care if I drank the kinds with a lot of sugar in it. Now I only drink sugar-free. Anyway, that's beside the point. So, as you can imagine, living like this, I gained quite a lot of weight, and eventually developed type 2 diabetes, which I'm still struggling with today. And both of those has led to other problems. Like, I got a lot of issues with my legs, for instance. Whenever I have to stand around for a while, like for example at a bus stop, or I've been having some work practice in stores where I have to walk around the store a lot, and that leads to problems pretty quickly. I'm most of the time, by the end of the day, my feet hurt so bad that I can barely stand on them, which often leads to me not being able to work the next day. So stuff like that. And as you can imagine, all of these problems has been a major issue in me being able to get a job and provide for myself, basically. I've been living on social services for all of my adult life, which fortunately here in Norway is pretty, I wouldn't say good, but decent. I've never really been in danger of becoming homeless or anything like that. It's really just been like barely being able to get by for most of my life. And I haven't gotten to the point yet, and possibly might not ever get to that point where I can have a proper job. It kind of depends on what kind of job I can get, but one of the issues is that I don't have an education. Because when you can't show up at school in the morning, they don't really want to let you finish school. And I mean, I couldn't really keep up either when I basically wasn't there wasn't there ever. And now it's gotten to the point where social services has run out of options for me. I'm pretty much living on the lowest type of support they can give, which is like almost not enough to even get by. And at the moment I'm unsure of what will happen. Like, I don't even know what will happen in the next couple of months. Social services currently have me working at a grocery store, like, for free, basically. They can't afford to actually hire me, but social services requires me to work there to earn the tiny bit of money I get from them, which I guess is fair, but it's kind of frustrating in many ways. But at the moment I've been working there for a year, and I'm basically maxed out on my current capacity to work, which means I work 3 days a week, and I think that's as much as I'm able to push myself to do in that kind of work. Unfortunately, because I really like the place. I really like my co-workers there. I get along with everyone, which is very rare for me. But yeah, anyway, the last couple of months since Christmas, I've been struggling more and more because of the uncertainty of what will happen, as well as basically feeling incredibly lonely. Because of the way I lived up until I got my diagnosis, and kind of have still lived since then, I don't really have much of a social life. When I was younger, me and my friends regularly had LAN parties. Because, surprise, I'm a computer geek and gamer. Probably didn't surprise anyone. But as everyone has gotten older and establish their own families, establish their careers. No one has time for that anymore. So, I mean, at the moment, it's maybe like 5 or 6 times a year that we manage to get together, and the rest of the time I'm doing nothing because I don't know how to do anything outside of my apartment. Like, literally, I don't know what I would do if I went out. Well, it doesn't really help that I don't drink either, so, you know. During the 8 years since I got my sleep disorder diagnosis, I've been in 3 relationships. The only 3 relationships I've been in my entire life. Because before that, I couldn't even meet anyone. How I ever managed to actually get together with any of them, I still don't really understand. I consider myself lucky at the time, and I still do, even though they all had their troubles, but that's for another time. This became an issue for me during Christmas, because during Christmas this year I spent pretty much the entire time alone. I spent Christmas Eve with my family and Christmas Day partially with my family. Midway Christmas Day until like January 3rd, I think, when I went back to work, I spent most of my time alone. And that's the first time I've been alone on Christmas for 6 years, I think. 6 years ago might be the last Christmas I did spend alone. Or at least not in a relationship. So yeah, since Christmas I've been feeling very lonely, and it's gotten like a lot worse every day, basically. The only thing lately that has provided me with any kind of social interaction is my job. And I don't know how much longer that will last. The last couple of weeks, it's really hit me very, very hard every day that I have to go to work. Because of my sleep disorder, I've made a deal that I will only work nights. So I go to work at 3 p.m. and work until 11. That means I have the entire morning to kind of wake up, get myself ready, and go to work. But as I mentioned, the last couple of weeks has been incredibly hard. Basically from I wake up in the morning until I actually need to get ready. I've literally not felt like anything is worth it. It's like I've been a black cloud inside my head, weighing me down, and it's almost a miracle that I've actually been able to make it to work every day for the last couple of weeks. And I think what actually enables me to pull through that every day and get there is the fact that I know that once I get there and start interacting with my coworkers, talking to them, I feel a lot better straight away. I feel absolutely terrible until I walk through the door at work, and it's like a switch, and I don't know, it's just something about actually having someone to interact with. So anyway, I feel like I've gotten off track now. This video was supposed to be an introduction to, well, me. So yeah, I didn't really intend to go that in depth on my current situation, but I guess it's relevant to my introduction. These are all things related to my physical health related issues anyway. As for mental health, I really don't know where I am. There's nothing wrong with me, like, officially, when it comes to my mental health. I've never been diagnosed with depression or bipolar or anything like that, and yet I don't feel like I am normal. I feel like there is something undefinable that affects me in one way or another. I don't know if it's something I've had all my life that has affected my ability to deal with the problems I've had, or if there's some kind of, I hesitate to use the word trauma, but I can't think of another word, that is a result of struggling with these things all these years. One thing I do know, though, is that I struggle with social interactions. I was at one point considered to have some form of social anxiety, and I think I might still have that to a degree, although it's gotten a lot better since then. This was before I got my sleep disorder diagnosis. And I also know the reason why I have this social anxiety. That is a result of bullying when I was growing up. I don't really want to go too in depth about that now, but it's something that has also affected my life quite a bit after I grew up. I struggle to engage people in most situations. It doesn't really affect me at work because it's a different kind of situation. When you engage someone there, it's like there's a purpose behind it that like I know and they know. But if I meet someone that I find interesting, no matter if it's like just I want to be friends with you or I think you're beautiful and interesting and I want to date you, I can't engage them. It's like a paralyzing kind of fear, and I've never been able to do anything about that, figure out how to deal with it, to get past it. Well, I think that's enough for an introduction video. Like now you know my story and what I'm struggling with. I've got a lot of things I want to talk about later. I have some ideas for, let's say, themes for future videos. Things that are rattling around in my head, things that I struggle with, and just maybe random things that come to mind now and then. But for now I think this is more than enough. I'm surprised if anyone has bothered to watch through all this, and if you have, thank you very much, and hopefully I'll see you next time.